Hi, my name is Paul Da-Costa-Greaves and I'm really excited about this recipe. I love bread and butter pudding. It's just one of my favourites. It's just so moist, so great. And the best thing about it is it's utilising all leftover ingredients. All I've got is some croissants left over, some caster sugar, sultanas and some raisins as well. Again, they're always in your cupboard. I've got some eggs and some mincemeat, double cream, vanilla pod and some fresh milk. I'm going to keep the egg whites back for my Knickerbocker Glory meringue recipe later on. The egg whites are great. Rather than chuck them away and you don't use them, why not put them in a small airtight container and just pop them in the freezer until you do need them. And don't forget, with the shells they can go straight in your compost bin. The first thing is I'm going to take a pan here and we're going to get the liquid onto the heat. So I've got the measured amounts which are in the recipe of the double cream and the full fat milk. Now, if you've got no double cream and you've only got, say, whipping cream and you're very short of milk, why not just use the whole amount in whipping cream? It, as I say, because there's fat content in the double and the milk, it just works out just as good as well. Okay, I've got vanilla pod, which are here. I'm just going to cut that down the middle and I'm just going to take the seeds out. Now, the great thing about these vanilla pods is that although they're expensive, you can actually reuse them and reuse them. I'm just scooping out the seeds in there. I'm doing one vanilla pod, okay? But this little beauty that's left over, there's so many different options you can use this. You can put this as it is in some sugar, so you're infusing some sugar, which is great because it puts a little vanilla twist to it. Or alternatively, just dry it out in an oven, very low heat, and then just put it in a food blender and you've got some vanilla which you can just sprinkle over some desserts. It just puts a different twist to things. I'm just scooping out the seeds in there, straight onto the heat. Okay, now egg yolks straight into a bowl along with the measured amount of sugar. Okay, just got a bit left over, keep that to one side. Just going to mix this in, and again I'm not going to bring this up to a ribbon stage. I'm just going to keep this up to so everything's all mixed in until the milk and the cream has come together, and then I can start adding that. Now we're going to bring this bread and butter together. Okay, how I tend to do this is I bring in the slice of the bread and then I'm going to dip it into the milk. You need to remember as well that you've got cream and milk on the stove, so don't let it boil over because you do not want to clean that beauty afterwards. For me, I just take the pan off the heat and the actual whisk that I've got with the egg yolks in, I tend to use that whisk and I just sort of every now and again just keep adding it to it, because what's that's doing here, it's actually starting to bring it up and starting to thicken itself naturally. Right, the milk and the cream has come up to a semi-boil. I've just taken that off the heat and then I'm going to start adding that into the egg mixture. Now, you need to be careful and you need to do this really quickly because you're going to end up with scrambled egg if you're not, okay? And all I'm doing is adding the mixture into the egg yolks, a little bit of a time, so that's all mixed in. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to pass that back into the pan, okay? And in the meantime, I'm just going to pass it through a sieve just so I can get not got any lumps in there. I'm just going to add that back to the heat just to thicken up a little bit. Okay, I've gave that an extra couple of minutes and this is perfect now, ready for me to start making the bread and butter pudding. Okay, if you've only got a small amount of croissants or brioche left over and you've got quite a bit of white bread, you can mix and match. It doesn't really matter because it's all going to do the same job. What I've got here is I'm just going to cut up the croissants. I've got some leftover of the mincemeat and I'm just going to spread this over onto the croissants just as if you're making a little sandwich. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start layering up the bread and butter. Here we go. Okay, just get your tin and then we're just going to start popping in the slices. Okay, and as we start popping them in, we're just going to start building all this up. Once the first layer is laid in, I'm just going to pour over the egg mixture. Okay, and the mixture will just soak beautifully into the bread. Honestly, you will not look back once you've had this. Okay, and once that's gone in there. I tend to press it down just to help it soak in. There we go. Now we're going to start onto the second layer, and exactly the same process. We're just going to cut your bread, your croissants or your brioche, whatever you've got left over. And on this particular one, you can just very lightly put any leftover mincemeat on top of it. Don't worry if you use all of it, because at the end of the day, you've got certainly the flavours within the actual bread and butter pudding, and all those flavours will seep in together, so each mouthful will be a pure indulgence. Now we've done the second layer, I'm just going to pour over the rest and the remainder of the actual egg mixture. Okay, and again, this will soak up. Rather than just pour it all over, just do it in stages. There's no rush. You know, once you start getting a massage and putting a bit of love into your food, okay, and that bread or croissants will certainly soak up all that egg mixture. Right, okay, now we've got to this stage, we're going to get this into a baking tray. Now, because I want to create a bath, I'm just going to pop in a little bit of hot water. And again, this acts as a bath just to help steam, because we've got the eggs in there. And you can't have Christmas without satsumas. I tell you, I love a good satsuma. Back in my day, this is all I got for Christmas. Now this is done, I'm just gonna pop the mandarin and the mincemeat bread and butter pudding in the oven. In this recipe, notice I've used mandarin, but I didn't have any in my fruit bowl. I've used satsumas instead. You can use any citrus, whatever fruit you've got available, you can use. And don't forget, those peelings can go straight in the compost bin as well. Okay, now that's gone into the oven. You're looking at around 20 minutes, gas 5, 190, 375. Or if you don't have a gas or electric oven and you're cooking from a little farm cottage and all your heat is a Rayburn or an Arga, it's the bake section of the oven, and that should take around 25 to 35 minutes. Okay, this has just come out of the oven now, and as you can see, it is absolutely lovely. Okay, so with this little pastry cutter, I'm just going to take out a nice little piece here, and as you can see, just look at that, that is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to have this with some clotted cream, okay, and I'm just going to pop a nice, oh, look at that, that's lovely. Just going to pop a nice little, just a small amount, just on there to enjoy. Okay. And if you want to go a little stage further, why not just put a little bit of icing sugar on? Lovely.